Hey everyone, welcome to Moreality, your channel for React Native content. Today we're going to be talking about the useRef hook. First we'll go over what it is, and then we'll go over how to use it with a quick example. So starting off with what it is, the useRef hook returns a mutable ref object whose .current property is initialized to the past argument, which is the initial value. The returned object will persist for the full lifetime of the component. Essentially, useRef is like a box that can hold a mutable value in its .current property. It's handy for keeping any mutable value around, similar to how you'd use an instance field in classes. This works because useRef creates a plain JavaScript object. Now keep in mind that useRef doesn't notify you when its content changes, and mutating the .current property doesn't cause a re-render. If you want to run some code with React attaches or detaches a ref to a DOM node, you may want to use a callback ref instead, such as use callback. So now let's jump into a quick example showing you how to use useRef. So what we're going to do is, if you've ever used a system called DocuSign to sign a document or something like that, you'll see that you can scroll through the text or the agreement, and then you'll reach a point where it tells you, click to sign here. And then what you do when you click that, it jumps you to the signature field. You can complete that signature, jump to the next signature field, and so on until you finish signing the form completely. So what I want to show you today is how could we create, using the useRef hook, a text input field, and then we have a button, we'll call it focus, and when this button is pressed, we're going to jump to the field that we want to sign, for example. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So in our src folder, we're going to create a file called userefhook.js. We'll type rfne, React Native functional export component. Okay, then we're going to go to app.js. We're going to use that component we just created, useRef hook, self-closing component, press Control spacebar. Okay, can't find it. We'll go ahead and import it ourselves. Call it useRef hook. Okay, now it sees it here. These U's need to be capitalized. There we go. So in userefhook.js, we have a text component that says useRef hook, and that's why we're seeing this here. So we'll leave everything else alone on app.js, and we'll do the rest of our coding in userefhook.js. So first what we're going to do is we'll start with creating a constant variable called input element, and then we'll set that equal to useRef. And what we need to do is import useRef, Control spacebar, select it, import it from React. And then we're going to have a function called focus input. And it's going to be an arrow function. And what we're going to do is we're going to say input element dot current. That's that current property that we were talking about. Then we're going to say focus. So now what this dot focus does is it takes us to that component, and you'll see what I mean in a second once we finish this implementation. What's going to happen is we're going to have a text box here. We're going to have a button down here called focus. And when we press the focus button, the text input box is going to come into focus. What that means is it's going to put the cursor there and it's ready for us to type. So let's get our return set up. So I want to have a fragment. Going to take this view, put it inside the fragment. And then instead of text, I want to use a text input. So we need to import this one from React Native. Change that to input as well. We're going to have, it's going to be self-closing. So we'll get rid of this. We're going to have some props in here. So let's give it some space. So there's a ref property for the text input. So this is going to be our input element from here. So notice here too that we didn't put anything for the initial value. You don't always have to. We could put empty string in this case because we're going to be typing text into the text input. Let's add a placeholder. This is going to say, call it signature. Let's reopen this back up. So, okay. All right, so if you noticed, looks like Expo crashed. So what I did, just back into the terminal, pressed I to open back up on the iOS simulator. So now we could see we have this text box here. We could click on it and we could see that we could type there. So let's add a little bit of styling to make that box a little more visible. So we'll say border color. We'll call it gray. Border width, say 1. So now you can see the box there. Give it a flex of 0.5, and I'll fix that in 1 second. We'll say padding left. Give that 10. Then overall padding of say 5, and we want the font size to be 20. Okay, and then in the view we're going to give it a style. We want the flex direction to be row, and we want a little bit of margin top of say 40. Okay, so now we have some nice spacing. So if you're curious about any of these, this is just obviously the border color around here. We have a border width of 1, so a pretty thin border. Flex of 0.5, and we set the view flex direction to row. By default, it's column, so it would flex up and down because it's for a mobile device, which is by default in portrait mode. So here we switched it to flex direction of row. So then we flex halfway across the entire width of the screen. And then we just give a little padding on the left here of 10. And then we give it padding of 5 all around. And then the font size of 20. So just keeping these examples very simple, more geared towards beginners. We will get more advanced as time goes on. Once we get these simpler examples out the way, I want people who have no understanding of React Native to be able to follow along with these examples. If you're more intermediate, we'll get to those ones pretty soon as well. So next we're going to have another view component here, and here we're going to have the button that we were talking about for pressing it to focus. So problem is we need to import button. Let's try that again. Okay, we have it imported. We just need a title. Let's go ahead and give it a title. We'll call it focus. Okay, so there's our button. Let's say on press, we're going to focus input on press. This function that we created up here. And then I just want to give it a margin top of about 40. Okay, there we go. So we have the UI set up. So now what we want to do is we'll go ahead and reload it. And you can also run this on your phone by, if you press C in the terminal, you'll have this QR code right here that you could scan with your camera on your iPhone, and then that'll open the app on your iOS device. So in this case, I'm pressing I to open it on the iOS simulator, and then I just reload it, so we're all good to go. Okay, so now what's going to happen is when I press this focus button, you could see that the cursor's not in here ready to type. So if I press the focus button, there we go, it works. So what happened is now we have the cursor here ready to type, and now I could type and you could see it coming up clearly. Now if I was to reload and I just click here and I start typing, I get nothing. Yes, I could click into here and I could type in here as well, and that's fine. But this example is geared towards the DocuSign example of where you have to read through the documentation and then you click and it'll take you to the signature boxes so you could sign quickly like that after you've already read the document in its entirety. So that's going to be it for today's example. Pretty short and sweet. There are other use cases for useRef. We can talk about those if you like. I could do more examples with useRef. There's a couple other cases. And we could talk about that more in detail. If you guys would like to see that, please leave a comment below. I want to make sure I'm putting out content that people are interested in. So again, useRef, you could keep track of components. If there's anything else you'd like to see, please leave a comment below. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. There's a couple more hooks we're going to finish up with, and then we'll be done with all of the hooks. And then we're going to jump into setting up Firebase database, setting up AWS Amplify, setting up React navigation, setting up using Lottie animations, using Formic for data validation. So if there's anything else that you're interested in seeing, please leave a comment down below and we'll try to cater to that if possible. Again, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Have a good day.